Hello everybody, welcome to Watercolor Techniques. Today we're going to take a look at some of the watercolor techniques that I talked about in our last class. But before we get started, we're going to need to do a couple things first. We're going to talk about housekeeping and proper setup for our space. So let's take a moment to do that right now. The first thing you're going to need is to get a bowl or some type of vessel to keep water in. Now, some people want to get these little teeny cups. That's not a good idea. I would advise getting something larger like a cereal bowl. You want to get out your paints. You want to get out any brushes that you might have. I know I gave everybody a smaller brush, but some of you may own some of your own brushes like you see kind of here. Today I have a wide variety of different brushes. We're going to get out our sketchbook and we're going to take out several sheets of paper, 10 in all, to do our different color watercolor techniques today. You're going to want to have some Kleenex or some paper towels. You want to have, if possible, maybe a squirt bottle so you can wet some things. And if you have them available, these are some of your optional materials that I suggested today that you should have for today's watercolor techniques. If you have a first aid kit at home, you may have some rubbing alcohol, some table salt. You can take different varieties. It's up to you. Whatever you have available is fine. If you have some saran wrap, plastic wrap at your house, I would encourage you to grab this because we're going to take a look at 3 or 4 different techniques. And then again, an extra piece of paper towel because I'm going to show you how you can do some neat designs with that. So that's what we're going to need to have first, okay? And if you have some tape, it can be Scotch tape, it can be masking tape, whatever you have available. It's up to you. They both work equally. All right, so we have our left hand and our right hand. Those of you who are right-handed, you want to keep all of your painting materials to the right side, beginning at the top with your water, followed by your paints, and then if you have maybe a little Tupperware or plastic bowl where you can, mix some paint in. Again, this is easily washable. This doesn't stain. It's non-toxic. And you're going to put that down. And then you're going to fold up a piece of paper towel and put it off to the side. And we want this all to the right side of us. Okay? So that's the first thing we're going to do. Water, paint, mixing tray, paper towel. All right? So get that taken care of. And then we're going to talk about setting up our paper. So now that I have all my stuff over to my right side, we also have to remember that our paints here only operate with water. So this is why it's good to have a squirt bottle because you can squirt your paints like you see me doing here. If you don't have a squirt bottle, no worries. You can take your brush, you can dip it in the water, and you can just dot it over the top of each paint. Now you'll watch the water absorb into there, but again, we can't activate these paints until we get some water on them. So that's going to be the first thing we do after we set up our painting space. So let me get that situated. You might also take some tape, and I recommend tearing a couple of sheets of tape and then doing some small loops, okay? And put these small loops on the back 4 corners of your paper, like so. I'm going to put them here, I'm going to put some here, and I'm going to put some on the other sides, and then I'm going to turn the paper over, and I'm going to lay it down on a flat surface. And if I didn't mention, you want to be working somewhere that is flat, that you can navigate easily, where your paint or watercolor paints aren't rolling around. So make sure that you have a nice space where you can work at. Again, tell mom, dad, or family that you don't have to worry. It doesn't stain. It's non-toxic stuff. So just find yourself a place. Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at what's called a wash. All right, and we're going to look at a multicolor wash here today. And a wash begins with wetting the paper surface with just clean water. And if I didn't say it, I'll say it now. A good watercolorist always wants to be sure to keep their paint or their water clean. Once you start to see it get dirty and contaminated, take a moment, get up, dump it out, and put some new water in. But we're going to start by dropping some water. Now, I don't want you to create a lake on here and flood this thing, but I do want you to get it wet enough where we can get the paints to move around. We're going to look at doing a 2-color wash. And again, a wash will start with water on the surface, and then going in and getting some paint, and then starting to put it on our paper. Okay, and when we go from a color like this to change a color, we definitely want to be sure that we're rinsing out our brush nicely so we don't contaminate other colors. I'm going to reach in and put a blue in here. I'm going to move it around. You can take and you can tap your brush. Again, what we want to do is we want to create some interesting surface textures and treatments on our papers. And again, we're going to do 10 in all, but I'm going to show you 4 basic ones today, and then you can play around and do some experimenting on your own. So again, the first one here is a 2-color wash. All right. The 2-color wash can be done in a variety of colors. You choose. Pick ones that are your favorites. I did ones like so. I used a yellow, a purple, a fuchsia. I did one here where I did brown and blue. And again, I took a fuchsia and a blue here and created this 2-color wash using a fuchsia and a blue. So again, I took this color here and this color here. I mixed them into a wet surface and I moved them around. You can take just a wet brush if you want. You can kind of move around. Again, play. The idea of this exercise is to learn how to create some different color surfaces and surface treatments, because we're going to come back and use these pieces later in doing some drawings. Have fun. I would say do 2 or 3 of these and then put them over to the side. And again, be careful so you don't move these sideways, because if you take your paper and you turn it like this, water's going to run and it's all going to slide. So you kind of got to lay it flat while you're waiting to dry. And again, this doesn't take a lot of time. Again, first step is add in water. Create a watery surface, not flooding it. Don't make a lake, just get it nice and damp. Move to your color, put a color down, put another color down. Be sure to wash your brush in between color changes. And again, if you want to bring your brush back in and you want to play a little bit, you can even go as far as adding a 3rd color in there or a 4th. But understand, the more colors you add, the bigger risk you have of making the paper muddy. But again, that's what playing and experimenting is all about. So have fun, make 2 or 3, and we're going to move on to our next one, next color or surface treatment in a second here. So tune back in again for part 2.